My name is... Oh, hello. Yeah. My name is Stephen Bonnell. My YouTube channel is called Destiny, a name that I picked up from my days of being a professional StarCraft 2 player that's kind of stuck around since then. I cover the news from kind of like a center-left to far-left perspective, depending on who you are, with a big focus on critical thought and scholarly analysis. I try to read a little bit past the headlines. We try to do a lot of research. Rather than reading about a case, we'll read the actual indictments. Rather than reading about a Supreme Court decision, we'll try to read, the actual opinions from the judges. And I try to encourage people to hear people from different areas of the political spectrum without instantly assuming that they're evil or out to get them. And I try to encourage everybody to be reflective of their own beliefs so that they don't come at these political conversations with too much unneeded aggression.
Just to start the conversation, what is it that you think there's like a lot of wedges that are being driven right now, on the left, and what you think started that off and why it continues today?
Well, I think that, honestly, division on the left is not necessarily the worst thing sometimes. Like, people ask that question a lot, and I think it's just inherent to being on the left. Part of it's having principles. So the reason that the right is able to coalesce in ways that the left is not is, one, because they are also aligned behind capital in ways that the left is not. And it's pretty easy to regress to the mean for them and essentially just serve capitalism, and it's fine being nationalists or racist as long as you are protecting the power structure and the hierarchies that exist. When it comes to the left, there is infighting because a lot of people have principles and they don't want to stand aside alongside certain things that are deemed unacceptable. Now, there are times when it goes too far, right? 100%. But I think that the fact that there's an adversarial relationship within the left adversarial is not the right word, but I think the fact that there are these open discussions and debates, that's actually a strength, and it means that we're thinking critically about issues, and I think that that's indicative of kind of what we're trying to achieve today as well.
And it's worth noting, of course, that leftist infighting is left tradition. It's been happening for as long as the left has existed. It's seemingly unavoidable. It's tragic, but it's like gravity. It just pulls us down, and there's only so much we can do about it. I think the key is understanding that through all the disagreement and fighting and personal bickeries, there are things we can focus on to productively move forward. The key here is that it's a political space, not a social space. Disliking people in a social sense, thinking they are rude or boorish or even have some bad opinions, doesn't prevent you from working with them on issues of critical import. I think even like AOC at a national level has discussed efforts to work with Republican congressmen towards specific policy. And, they disagree on 99% of things, but if they work on the 1%, then, that's something. I only hope for a future in the online left where there's a little bit more constructivity behind all of it, because I feel like we're a bit lacking in that regard.
And let me just add one thing, too. Like, the online left is not representative of the left, right? Like, we are... there's a tendency to overinflate our importance. We are not that important. We're just not. I'm here to communicate issues. I don't feel that we should think of ourselves that way, honestly. Like, I'm here to communicate issues. I want to bring people on my platform that are actually doing the work, that are on the ground, that are advocates. That's the role that I see in this political space. And so, yeah, there's infighting with media personalities, but that's mostly about branding and stuff like that. What matters really are the people that are doing the work and organizing and working together. And I just think it's important to make that distinction between influencers and speakers and people who have microphones versus people who maybe don't get the attention that they deserve.
I wish I brought a notebook with me because I think I disagree with almost every single thing that was just said. I think that infighting happens on the left and the right. I think it's silly to say that infighting is something that only happens on the left or is exclusive to the left. I mean, just a while ago, we saw a huge split with Stephen Crowder fighting with the Daily Wire, for instance. We see huge schisms in the Republican Party with them being unsure of how they're going to proceed when 70 to 80% of the party is like ride or die for Donald Trump, who stands in stark contrast to the actual Republican establishment. The idea that, we see even Donald Trump, the guy who, is the leader of the Republican Party, literally fights with every single other other person in the Republican Party and his own cabinet and his own attorney generals and every other part of his thing. So I don't think infighting is unique to any side. I agree that fighting and debate is good and having conversations is good, but I find that on the left that's not what happens, and these fights don't originate out of principle, and they don't conduct themselves in a way that is productive. Instead, what they end up being is like an endless place to serve your own ego and to straw man, attack, cancel, destroy people that you end up disagreeing with. So while it would be really great if it did exist on the left where we could have conversations and disagreements, what actually happens is there is a party line that you kind of have to toe right now on the left if you're a progressive, and if you deviate in any way, size, shape, or form, you're essentially Hitler 2.0, and I don't think there's anything productive there. I don't think anything good happens there. And then on the end, the last point that Emma brought up, as much as I like to say, like 10 years ago, Twitter is not real life, I just sat across from Ro Khanna, who said that he didn't even have AOC's number, and they were conducting official business on Twitter DMs. So it seems like every day Twitter is becoming more and more like real life, where a lot of the policy, Donald Trump was literally announcing policy, making decisions from Twitter. We've got politicians like Bernie Sanders having to disavow his fan base because of their behavior on Twitter. And we've got a lot of interactions online that are merging more with real life than they ever had before. I don't think it's enough for influencers or entertainers to just throw their hands up and say, well, I just do entertainment. The work on the street is for the people on the street. I think that it is becoming increasingly more likely that people online are having a major influence on stuff that happens on the street or in academia or in other places. And I think we need to be aware of that responsibility and we need to play into it accordingly.
I think I actually agree strongly with that last bit. There's a TikTok I saw from a creator called Chris Raygun. It was funny, but the gist of it was essentially he was calling out a number of other YouTubers who he strongly believed had received an email, like him, from a conservative organization offering them money in exchange for them being willing to push certain talking points. He didn't accept it. He feels that a bunch of other folks did. There is a really strong synchronicity there. It feels in a lot of right-leaning spaces where there is this underlying cohesion, and you spoke to it being like the bridge of capital, and I think that capital, if nothing, binds people. If you can pay people...
Money binds those right-wing influencers.
For sure. Yeah. Really obvious.
How much money do all the left-leaning influencers make? I mean, like, it's not, none of us up here are poor, right? We all make a lot of money up here, right? I think some of the largest podcasts, I know the Majority Report does really good on Patreon, and a Vaush channel does good. Like, it's not like we're sitting up here broke, like we're on the street in rags, like, listen to a fellow leftist. Like, we make a lot of money.
No, but that's the difference, right? We make money, but the circuits through which we make money incentivize, in many cases, drama and infighting. One of the best ways to get a lot of money or prestige or clout as an influencer is to manufacture drama. That's the case for drama YouTubers, and it's the case for political YouTubers. And there's a critical difference between wealth acquired through that means and wealth that you receive from a different organization on the condition that you adhere to a certain set of values and not broach certain topics. And I think that difference, now that's not something we want to replicate, right? I'm not suggesting the solution for the left is to set up like dark money packs and start funding it.
But I think it's the same problem. I think the reason why we look at the right and we say, oh, well, they take money from PACs or organizations, so what is the bad thing about that? The bad thing is that you might have an influencer that's not representing their true, honest beliefs, but they're representing the people that are behind them financially. But I think the exact same type of audience capture happens on the left. Every one of us up here has made a decision about what topic to cover or not cover because we know that our audience might respond in a certain way for it. And when you literally have paying subscriptions that are riding on your opinion on like a certain breaking news topic, I don't think it's enough to say like, well, I'm funded by my audience, therefore I don't have to worry about audience capture, when I think all the exact same problems that people that are bought by corporate interests can exist on the right, the exact same thing can happen on the left with audience capture that want to hear a certain political opinion as well.
But it is a difference in how that capture takes place, don't you agree? Because if the capture is from your audience, the incentive there is to make the audience happy, whereas the incentive in the case of sort of other money would be to keep your benefactors happy, and they might have a much more structured and specific set of goals. If you're getting funded by a conservative PAC, they don't care about drama. Like, they're not interested in like a video that gets a bunch of views because you trash another conservative. They're trying to toe a line here, So we're not trying to replicate that. But I think that it takes a certain level of discipline in order to get comparable results in terms of audience engagement and cohesion. And to that extent, a lot of work needs to be done.
So I'm hearing a lot of conversation here about how the incentives in the space are lead toward conflict and confrontation, which I think any observer can see that is an angle, right? So the question I think before all of you is, given those incentives, how can there be any kind of cooperation between people who are incentivized